All right, then with that, I'd like to start meeting number 18, Monday, December 14. Roberta, are we recording? Great. December 14, 2020, 7 p.m., Township Administration Building. Prior to proceeding with the council meeting, let me just open with some notes. After the opening petition, the clerk will have Shelley Bradrick take her declaration of appointment to the office of Ward 2 Councillor and the oath of allegiance. Due to the efforts to contain the spread of COVID-19 and to protect all individuals and to comply with the province's state of emergency order, the council chambers will not be open to the public to attend council meetings until further notice. As noted on tonight's agenda, if members of the public had any comments, they could provide them by email to the clerk by 4:30 today. Please note that any email comments submitted will be considered as public information and read into the public record later in the agenda. A reminder to members of the public that can attend this evening's council meeting virtually. This was noted on this evening's agenda and could be done by contacting the clerk by email prior to 4:30 today to request a Zoom invitation to the meeting. And this meeting is being audio and video recorded and will be posted on the township's website within 48 hours. This time, I will sing "O Canada" and then ask Councillor Ganand to give us the opening petition. O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, a true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and the future and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, may we act wisely and well.
Thank you, Councillor. At this time, I'm going to ask Shelley Bradrick to read her declaration of office and the oath of allegiance. Should note that it was officially done this afternoon in the clerk's office. We have a small picture to prove that it happened, but for the public record, we'd like to invite Shelley to say her declaration of office and oath of allegiance at this time.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I, Shelley Bradrick, have been elected or appointed to the office of Councillor Ward 2 in the municipality of West Lincoln, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And I make this solemn promise and declaration consciously believing it to be true and knowing that it of the same force and effect as if made under oath. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Shelley Bradrick, officially. And I welcome you aboard. And I'm just going to give a little opportunity for other councillors to welcome you aboard if they so desire. Councillor Jonker.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity as her partner to be the first one to welcome her publicly. I look forward to working with you for the next couple of years, and definitely we'll have to meet at some time when we can to discuss our wonderful ward and the constituents that we represent. I can say that it's been an honor so far to do that, and I'm looking forward to working with you as we move forward. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other councillors? Councillor Ganan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to welcome Shelley aboard. And I also want to say that I think that it was good for all of us to hear you do your declaration and oath of allegiance. It's been 2 years since we did that, and it will not hurt any of us to be reminded of how seriously we need to take this job and how we need to really faithfully represent our constituents, not only in the wards that we're elected to, but in all of West Lincoln. So I welcome you warmly and look forward to working with you, Shelley.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any others?
Yeah, it's Mike Rayner.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Rayner.
Yes, as the old veteran from the council, I welcome you aboard. And
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll find this quite a learning experience, but I'm glad to have you aboard. I think you'll be a great asset, not only for Ward 2, but to represent all the township of West Lincoln, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Trombetta.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Bradrick, for accepting the nomination. It was something we decided as council to put a nomination out there, and then we wanted to say thank you for accepting. We did speak on the phone. I did send my congratulations that way, but I just want to formally send it tonight. Thank you for accepting.
And Councillor Riley, and then I'll go to Councillor Witteveen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I guess I'll just add to that as well. Congratulations, Shelley. It's great to have you on the team here, and definitely look forward to see what you can do with us over the next couple of years. And I'm sure it'll be one heck of a ride. So welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Witteveen.
Yeah, I just want to welcome you, Shelley. It's probably been a couple of years since we last spent some time together there at election. So I just wanted to reach out and say, if there's any connection or any questions your constituents would have, then feel free to reach out to me, and I'll share what knowledge I have on the region to help your elected officials or your residents also. So welcome, Shelley. Look forward to working.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It's been such a warm welcome. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, great, great. Then I'm going to ask, are there any changes in orders of items on the agenda this evening? I see none, Madam Clerk. And so I'm going to ask at this time, are there any disclosures of pecuniary or conflict of interest? Again, Madam Clerk, I see none. So we're going to move on to request to address items on the agenda. Were there any members of the public that emailed comments prior to 4:30 today, Madam Clerk?
I'm muted. No, Mayor Belsma, there was no one that emailed me today. Thank you.
Okay, and are there any people in the waiting room, Ms. Keith?
None that wish to speak, Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much. Then we're going to move on to our appointments and presentations. And this evening we have two. The first one is Stephen Sues, who will be speaking to about declaring a state of emergency on mental health, and we will have a resolution to follow that. So I'm going to give the floor to Stephen Sues. Just by way of introduction, if you don't know, Stephen is very active in the municipal political field. He does a lot of interviews, and I find some of them very, very informative. Others I don't catch because, well, he's a busy guy. He's busier doing that than I can keep up. But I've had a delight to also be interviewed by Stephen, and he works very hard in the region as a kind of a freelance activist. And so, Stephen, without any further introduction, you have the floor. Go ahead, sir.
That was quite the introduction, Mayor Bylsma, and thank you for your indulgence. And I want to begin by also using my time to congratulate Councillor Shelley. She now officially gets to vote on this, and hopefully your first act as counselor will be voting on one of the most historic mental health motions in this region. So congratulations to you, Councillor Shelley. And it's an honor to, serve on council, and I hope you'll represent your constituents well. So tonight, I want to talk to you about a motion that Councillor Campbell and I have worked on in Niagara Falls. We co-wrote it, co-authored it, and it's to request Niagara Regional Council declare a state of emergency on mental health, homelessness, and addiction. Now, this resolution I've been working on since 2019 when I gave a one-to-one interview with the Voice of Pelham about why Niagara should declare a state of emergency on these issues. So I'm going to start by giving you just the statistics and the facts. January to September of 2020, there have been 475 overdoses. The latest homeless number counts that we have, now they were supposed to do an updated count through Niagara Counts 2020 at the region. Of course, as Councillor Witteveen would know, that was postponed due to COVID-19. So the latest counts that we have are over 600 residents, homeless residents, 144 of them are children. Now, of course, there's severe lack of services in mental health, and COVID hasn't made this any easier, and especially for smaller area municipalities. So tonight, I'm just going to go through what a state of emergency, the benefits of what it will do. So a state of emergency gives the municipality increased power to set aside procurement bylaws to deal with the issue. So when a state of emergency is declared, which will be the region having to do this is simply voting on the request. When a state of emergency is voted on or is declared at the region, the POEC must respond at the provincial level. And so they have a whole department or office or whatever you want to call it dedicated to quick response on an issue. Now, states of emergency qualify as any intentional or non-intentional act that have major proportions to life or property. So when I've been researching this over the time that I have, almost 2 years now, I look at the numbers of overdoses and homeless and suicide, and I would say that if this is not a state of emergency, I don't know what is, Council. I don't know what is. And see, there's precedents on states of emergency. Some precedents are declaring a state of emergency on COVID-19, which West Lincoln Council has done amongst many, obviously the Ontario municipalities. You've had states of emergency prior on climate through NPCA and on clean drinking water in a couple Northern First Nation reserve communities. So that's the background of it. Now, the municipalities that have just that have supported the move already are Niagara Falls, Thorold, Fort Erie, and Grimsby, and they were all unanimous votes on the request. So tonight, West Lincoln Council, I'm asking you to take concrete action on this and to recognize that this is indeed an emergency, and to join our other Niagara municipalities in the call to action on this issue. Because I've been a social service worker for 5 years of my life, and I've had my own lived experience, and I've visited the Niagara Falls encampment, for example, and I've learned to understand these. I've been ingrained in these issues, and I'm passionate about these issues because, I see it every day. I get messages every day. And in some way, shape, or form, counselors, this issue touches all of us. And, we may have I've heard the stories of counselors who may have a son or a brother or a niece or a nephew, a family member who's struggling with these issues. They may have a close friend. Tonight, we can do something about it. Fort Erie voted on the motion tonight. And I like to use on social media, they say, what is the main driver of you supporting this, Mr. Seuss? And I would always say, so that we can be silent no more. And, you know, our rural municipalities and our townships, they can be great partners in these issues as well. There may be, the homelessness may look different, but that could be one person who's away from losing one paycheck, who's away from losing their house. That could be one person who's been recently lost their job and going through a mental health crisis. Tonight, I compel and encourage council to support this resolution. Thank you for your indulgence, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Suze. Any comments or questions to Mr. Suze?
Yes, I have some.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Seuss, for your comments. Are you intending to go to all the other municipalities also to seek their support in the region of Niagara?
That's correct, Councillor. I've either gone to the councils, or I am planning to, or I've communicated with the councils. It's funny because they said, you'll never talk to all the councils, will you? And I said, have you met me? So yes, the short answer is yes to your question, Councillor.
Okay, I have a son-in-law who's a paramedic, and he tells me horror stories about Niagara Falls. Lots of times, person ODs in his first of his shift, and he's 12-hour shifts, and by the end of his shift, he's taking him back to the hospital for the second time. Him or her, doesn't matter which one. The point is, it's very serious in Niagara Falls. But what made you pick Niagara Falls specifically? Port Colborne, Welland, St. Catharines, they're not in the same situation? Their municipalities don't see it the way you see it, or how does this differ?
Well, you know, you always have to start somewhere. And I have a long history of working together with Niagara Falls, and I have great partners in Niagara Falls. And, you know, I went to Wayne Campbell with this because he's a trusted friend. And, you know, he's very supportive of these issues. Of course, if any of you have read about his story, there's a documentary called At the Brink, and I encourage everybody to watch that. It's available on YouTube, and it paints the picture of, you know, suicides in Niagara Falls and how it's affected people and things like that. So the short answer to your question is it was mostly based on where we could get the ball rolling. It didn't matter which municipality got the ball rolling first. The point that matters is that we did get the ball rolling, sir.
Okay, I have one further question, and that's all, Mr. Mayor. With regards to what you're doing, you said it's got to go to the region for the approval before it goes to the province. Since it goes to the region represents all 12 municipalities. Why didn't you encompass Niagara Falls in the 12 and say, look, the region of Niagara has got a problem, period. And let all of us get part of this if it's possible to get some support from the province in order to help resolve the issue. Because although you're isolating one, all of us to some degree have that same problem. So why not try to have the province do all of us and stuff? Because if it works for Niagara Falls, then a year from now or 6 months, we've got to do Welland, or we got to do West Lincoln, or we got to do Port Colborne, whatever. Why not just say, since the region of Niagara has to approve this before it goes to the province, the region represents all of us in the Niagara area, all 12 municipalities.
So through the chair, Councillor, there's no isolation going on here. What we have chosen to do is make the call to action stronger, Councillor. I am going to the lower tier municipalities to, first of all, let them have autonomy and a voice at the lower tier. And second of all, to make the call to action when I do ask to declare the emergency stronger to the region. Because is it stronger for Stephen Seuss to go there and ask for it, or as many second tier municipalities as possible? Thank you, Chair.
Yep, thank you.
Stephen. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Councillor Rayner, you do not know Stephen Seuss then, because he gets as much support as he can. So his enthusiasm is noteworthy. Any other comments or questions for Councillor Gannan? Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say that how heartily I agree with what Stephen had to say about it looking different in all municipalities. I spent last week a couple of days packing packages for the 110 families that were registered at our own community care. And through hearing some of those stories, we didn't direct with those, but through from the people involved with meeting with them to make sure that they were registered. There are many people in West Lincoln, especially with COVID, who are one paycheck away from being homeless, or one paycheck away from absolutely losing the lifestyle that they've been used to. And our community has stepped up and has been, and that's been great. But the bottom line is there are still some people in our area, they're calling them couch surfers, where they have a home, but it isn't their home. They're staying with one family now and somebody else a couple of days later and another friend down the road, and seniors who are sharing facilities because they can't afford their own rent. So it's very serious. It's very serious, and it's a little more hidden in small communities. So I actually appreciate that you've come to West Lincoln with this request, because I think that we need to be on board with supporting where we can. So thanks, Stephen.
Thank you, Counselor.
Okay, then, Counselor, okay, go ahead, Counselor Jonker. Counselor.
Yeah, I
Jonker.
guess the question I was going to ask is, can you hear me? I know my feed's been in and out, so it's not the greatest for some reason, but I was hoping, I was going to ask you, do you know what the COVID lockdowns have done? Has that also shown an increase of mental health and overdoses? We've been reading reports and evidences that has been the case, and I'm wondering if you knew if that was happening here as well, because we always need to consider that too, right? There's health that we need to, on both ends, that we need to be careful of. And I was just wondering if you knew of numbers being increased here because of the lockdowns or not.
So I can't speak specifically to the numbers, Counselor Jonker, and I've actually known of Counselor Jonker for a very long time. So nice to put a face to a name, but I can't speak to numbers specifically, but I can say that, with services being, scaled back or, 100% virtual, of course, that has created challenges right here in Niagara and throughout the province and throughout the country. I actually did a little experiment where I tried to access homelessness services myself because I wanted to hear the answers directly from service providers. People wouldn't usually do that, but they'll tell you that I always go the extra mile. And, it is so hard to be able to connect with any service nowadays. I mean, that's become a huge, huge challenge, Counselor Jonker, because you have, for example, after I had a heart attack, and there was follow-up, I had to go, I had to do everything virtually. It makes it very difficult. And so it would be interesting to see the numbers, how these issues have affected, but, I cannot yet attribute the COVID-19 to the increased overdoses. But I mean, from January to September 2020, you see 475 overdoses, up from 335 last year. So, if I was a betting man, which I am not, but if I was, I would say, it's a possibility.
Yeah. I know Dr. Hergy has spoken on this, and I've asked him on a meeting that, and he said that originally there was a bit of a spike in overdoses attributed to the opioid crisis. That we made some gains through education, through supports. We were able to make some gains, and we've lost a lot of that since COVID. And that was his comment, Dr. Hergy, Doctor of Public Health. So, Councillor Riley, did you want to ask?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Suze there. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I don't think there's ever a more sensitive topic than dealing with mental health, and I appreciate your advocacy for ensuring that it stays front and center. I think in looking at this resolution, I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I certainly have no hesitation in supporting this. I'm just kind of curious what your long-term goal is for this. Obviously, we need more funding from provincial and federal levels. But I'm just trying to gauge exactly what is the ultimate end goal for you that you're truly striving for. Not obviously not just having it as a conversational piece, but where are we lacking as a society, and what could we be doing more ourselves? And I'm just kind of curious to hear what your interpretation of that is.
That's an excellent question, Councillor Riley. I really appreciate that. The end goal is this. The end goal is to get people who need help the help that they need. And so with the state of emergency, it's an excellent way to inspire the budget deliberations. Then we don't have to be, my goal is to mitigate the fact that there's always something we have to sacrifice when we're talking about these services. When senior staffers at the region do these type of budgets, there's always something they have to gut or cut, to make all the other things work. Here we're saying, no, let's get increased funding. Let's get services to the smaller area municipalities, not just St. Catharines, not just centralized services, but services region-wide that are accessible by transportation. That's a big challenge for West Lincoln. Mayor Bylsma and I have discussed transportation in the past, and we have to, and Mayor Bylsma shares my commitment to mitigate those transportation barriers for residents. So the long-term goal is to see localized services, accessible services, and services that are well-funded. And so the state of emergency is, again, about procurement. How do we get more office phones for crisis lines? How do we get more staff to work in, immediate homeless services? Nobody seems to have the answer to that question. And I'm glad you asked me about long-term ramifications, because in the long term, if we don't recognize this as an emergency, and we're just going to sit there and say, thousands upon thousands of people being affected. I mean, there's ramifications to not acknowledging that either. So I want the province and the federal government to do their part. And I was actually reading the agenda where it said that Councillor Gannon was, agreed to move the motion. And in the original motion, I actually had the PMO and the Premier of Ontario copied on that as well. So I just mentioned that. Sorry, Councillor Cheryl. I wasn't trying to be a stickler or anything. But yeah, I would say that's my answer. Just the long-term funding impacts and the procurement, and legally, declaring a state of emergency is our best option.
Thank you. I appreciate that explanation.
Okay, any others? Then I'm going to go to Councillor Ganan. You have a resolution for this item.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the correspondence from the City of Niagara Falls dated November 17th, 2020, requesting Niagara Region to declare a state of emergency on mental health, homelessness, and addiction be received. And two, that the Township of West Lincoln supports the City of Niagara Falls request to declare a state of emergency on mental health, homelessness, and addiction. And three, that this resolution be forwarded to Niagara Regional Council, Niagara Regional Public Health and Social Services, the Premier of Ontario, the Provincial Minister of Health, the Minister of the Attorney General, the Minister of Children, Community and Social Services, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the Leader of the Opposition, the official opposition, Niagara West MPP Sam Osterhoff, Niagara West MP Dean Allison, as well as the Prime Minister of Canada and all local area municipalities within the Niagara region. I think that covered most of what you had to say, Stephen.
We're good.
Councillor Riley, are you seconding that?
And I also I want a recorded vote when the time's right.
Yep, I was going to ask that too. Great, thank you so much. Any comments or questions on this? We can proceed to the vote. Okay, Madam Clerk, it's recorded vote has been asked. Can you proceed?
Sorry, thank you. Yes, I had to unmute myself again. Okay, so I'm just opening up the recorded vote. Okay. Councillor Ganan?
Support?
Councillor Jonker?
He's muted. Okay.
Support.
Thank you.
Support.
Councillor Rayner?
Support.
Councillor Riley?
Support.
Councillor Trombetta?
Support.
Councillor Braderick?
Support.
Mayor Bosma?
In favor.
The vote was 7 unanimous.
There you go, sir. Another one in your file. So thank you very much for your presentation, and we send you on with unanimous support. You can put that one in the check mark in the box there.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and feel free to check out the vote tracker. I'll have it updated.
Great, thank you so much. All right, then moving on, item 7.2 is we have Brenda Johnson, Chair, And Chandra Sharma, CAO of Niagara Peninsula Conservation, with us this evening, giving us a bit of an update. A lot has happened in conservation in 2020. So I'm going to give the floor to Brenda Johnson, Chair of the NPCA. And the floor is yours, my dear.
Thank you very much, everyone. Honorable Mayor and fellow councillors, I am also the councillor of City of Hamilton for the Ward of Glanbrook. Congratulations, Councillor Broderick. Good for you. It's scary, but you're going to have I think you're going to do really well at this. So thank you so much for having us tonight. I do have to put a caveat in this right now that Chandra has all the presentations and she just had a family emergency. So I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be winging it. And I know you've had a long day, so I'll be as efficient as possible. I also want to take this opportunity just to let you all know that in 2019, Mayor Bylsma was the chair of the NPCA, and with his leadership, he helped us through some of our darkest days, and I cannot thank him enough for all the hard work he put into the NPCA last year. Thank you for sending him to be a representative and to continue being a representative on our board. He's been he's been a great support for me. Every time I need something, he's always there for us. So I just wanted to put that out there. Chandra Sharma actually came to us from Toronto Conservation with a menu of qualifications, and I can't imagine how we would have gone through this year without Chandra. As counselors, I think we can all agree, and as even human beings, the year 2020 has been at most challenging. COVID has made us all realize just how important our green space and our parks are for all ages, not just young kids, not just young parents, but all ages. So passive parks and trails are being inundated with visitors, which means that our staffing and our resources are starting to drain because we're putting them into positions that we've never had to do before. We didn't have 70,000 visitors come along our passive parks and our trails before. So it's emptying the garbage cans and it's maintaining the trails, and it's just put a bit of a pressure on there. And conversely, because of 2020, all our revenue generating events have either been canceled or they have been geared down to almost nothing. Our Balls Falls went virtually. I don't know if any of you ever had the opportunity to go to this. This is a 4-day event that is just nonstop, and it's a great money generator, as well as all the other events at Balls Falls. Weddings and receptions and open houses and birthdays have all been canceled because of COVID. So therefore, our revenue generators have been canceled. I think that you can all understand that last year we've been going through hundreds of staffing hours of dealing with the Auditor General's report. We've got just about 70% of it completed now. And then Bill 229 comes down the pipe. So everything we've been striving for in the Auditor General's report has basically, I don't know how else to put this, but you just almost want to roll it up and smoke it, because everything we've tried and everything we've accomplished now has been in complete opposite. And just for instance, that initially the provincial government wanted us to retract any citizen appointees on the board. They finally conceded to let us have 30% of citizens on the board. So it's just one of many things that we're trying to cipher through right now. So by the time we get it all figured out where we stand, we're going to be presenting it to our board this Thursday to let our board members know just what kind of impact Bill 229 has had on the Niagara conservation. But we're still going to go ahead with our strategic plan. This is something that we are going to review the NPCA from bottom to top. And I think every organization should go through something like this. So we're still planning on doing it. We just may have to now gear a few things, and a few of our objectives, we may have to change them to accommodate Bill 229, but we're still committed to putting that together. And on a personal level, our goal when we first started this with Mayor Bylsma at the head was to reestablish, create, initiate, and enhance our municipal partnerships. And that's why we decided to go to every single municipality to let you know that here we are, we're here to help. If you need anything, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call. And also that face-to-face is always nice, so you know who it is you're talking to at the other end of the table. So anyways, on that very short presentation without your PowerPoint, so your foreheads don't have to hit the desk, I'm just open for any questions, any comments. I'd be happy to answer them. And if you think of something later, please go through Mayor Bilsma or just Brenda Johnson at npca.ca. And I'd be happy to help you out with anything you need. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, thank you so much, Brenda. Any comments or questions for the chair of the NPCA? I just wanted to mention two things. First of all, your representative on West Lincoln or at West Lincoln from West Lincoln to the NPCA is also Deborah Kuhn Peterson, sits on our board. I tend to have a little bit more of a representative role on behalf of the Niagara region. But by, no doubt, I carry my West Lincoln credentials with us. Some of the most complex watershed portions, Welland River, 20 Mile Creek, run right through the length of our municipality. So it's very important to have this representation at the table. The second thing that I wanted to say and highlight is for those who haven't been following, but Balls Falls is all lit up. NPCA has done their best to bring cheer and good head therapy, just coming off of what we just discussed about mental illness, homelessness, and addictions. That fresh air, the opportunity to see something uplifting. Balls Falls is all decked out. So I encourage all who are here on this call, but also the residents who see this to go visit Balls Falls. Had quite the unveiling on the weekend. Santa was there and everything. Absolute delight, and the staff of NPCA should be commended for trying to switch gears to provide extra special amount of that social and personal well-being because of the natural sites that we are so blessed with in the Niagara Peninsula.
Yep, absolutely.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Anyone else for Chair Brenda Johnson? Go ahead, Harold. Councillor Jonker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No problem. I'd also like to just express my thanks to the work that you do there. We as family have a lot of love for the nature that we've been placed in, and we are called to conserve it, right? Not just for ourselves, but for future generations. And we appreciate the work that is done. We enjoy the walks that we're able to do, and we do live in a beautiful country and in a beautiful peninsula, and we are definitely thankful for the work that you do there to preserve it. And we pray that you can continue that work, and in these times of financial toughness too. It's a challenge, but we're thankful for the work that's done, and hopefully it can continue for many years.
Thank you. And I have to say, and I forgot to, sorry, I think we have the most exceptional staff. They go above and beyond the call of duty each and every day, and nothing's ever a problem for them. It really, they're really incredible.
I can vote.
So thank you for your kind words. I'll make sure we pass it on.
Yes, and just on a side note, is that chair comfortable? It looks like a gamer's chair.
Do you know that only men notice this?
Because I've been looking at them going, is it worth buying?
Yes, it is. I'll tell you right now, and I know we're going sidetracked. Sorry, councillors. Last week, our council meeting started at 9:30 in the morning, and I shut the computer off at 1:30 in the morning. So I'm sitting in here for a long, long time some days. So yes, it's very, very comfortable, and that's why I went out of my way to buy one of these. Somebody told me.
Sorry, I just seen it. I had to ask. They look comfortable, but they're expensive. But it's worth it, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely,
you.
absolutely.
Note to CAO. Budget consideration. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, all right.
Please don't hesitate to give me a call, and thank you, Roberta and Bev, for all your help. Appreciate that. Take care, everybody, and Merry Christmas.
Yes, thank you, Chair Johnson. All right, moving along, we have number 8 is regional council remarks. So at this point, I'd like to call upon our regional councillor, Albert Witteveen. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And Good evening, Mayor and members of council and staff and members of the public. So I'd like to start to my report by sharing an update on the Greater Golden Horseshoe Food and Farming Alliance meeting that I attended in late November. The committee's been working on a refresh of a 5-year action plan for agriculture in the Golden Horseshoe, and that would include us. So many stakeholders took part in this project, and some high-level directions were able to help develop policies to source out food streams for long-term care facilities, work on retention and expansion of local farmers market, help enhance on-farm diversification as wedding venues, special events, and agritourism. Some more challenging issues are the large homes within agriculture land, our secondary units, urban development, and in rural areas, crowd control measures in rural areas, and purchasing of local food. Some of these will be position papers and others will be action item initiatives. So this 5-year action plan can be found on the website of the Greater Golden Horseshoe Food and Farming Alliance. And I encourage you all as councilors to look at this action plan, because there's a lot of material in there that's highly relatable to West Lincoln because of our rural roots. So it'll take a lot of work on many stakeholders to see this through over the next 5 years. So as for the Niagara region, we've been busy with our official budget for 2021, and needless to say, it's been a challenging budget with all that's happened over the past year. And so we're working to continue to complete initiatives and projects moving forward in the coming years. So just a kind of a heads up, we guided staff to stay within a 2% guidance for 2021. So later on in December here early, I attended the Public Works meeting earlier this month, and we had and worked right into this evening's flavor, the Niagara Specialized Transit update, and so a little overview of their hours are from 7 to 10, 7 days a week, and they had upwards to 26,500 trips in 2019, and pretty much are on track for providing that level of service this year. So it basically, the system works on today on a pre-booked and shared rides, but as we move forward, the system will move to an on-demand platform similar to what we are experiencing here in our municipalities and others through our pilot stage. So the provider here, the Red Cross, was the initial provider of the service back in 2016, and it went out for tender, and the tender process in which the company called BTS was named the new provider, and the service continues it today for the residents of Niagara. So they've had an excellent track record, and we are pleased with the excellent service that they have been providing. So I just wanted to share with you kind of their vision, and I think it's just something, I find it quite challenging. Transit, specialized transit, being kind of a country boy most of my life, you biked or you got a ride or you put your thumb out. But as we move forward, I think, it's come to light more and more that, we are meeting some challenges and decisions based on providing, equal transportation to all. So I just wanted to share the vision because I think it's good to understand kind of our basically our transit type initiative here. So to share the vision is to enable a single service to meet social and financial rider experience expectations, employing a full accessible fleet, booked and paid for or with a web-based customized profile, using on-demand led service for all rural and underserved areas in Niagara. So I just, as we think forward in our presentation this evening, there's sometimes because we can drive around at free will, we have to remember those that may not have that same level of freedom as we do, and maybe not by choice. So it's just things as we move forward in our decisions. I think it's important for us to give it good thought. So, and then later in the day, attended a public health meeting and community service, which we had a presentation on the impact of COVID on the Ontario Works caseload. So a high level view, as we here in Niagara have 10,000 individuals in need on a regular basis. So that's presently around the 7.5% unemployment rate. So we're lucky because this number has been helped by the federal government support programs, as we know of CERB and others, which has paid out greater than Ontario Works. So, but if this level of support drops or is discontinued, we could see a spike of another 3,000 individuals needing support. So on average, these Ontario Works are receiving benefits longer, from 37 to 41 months, because most of these individuals work in the service sector. And so look, moving forward, to try to be ready for this possible influx is their staff is preparing for it by accelerating digital solutions such as direct deposits, reloading payment cards, and electronic document management. And I actually listened to a webinar at lunchtime today about setting up apps and where resources are for homeless people. And so just a couple of interesting facts that 94% of homeless people have a phone, and 76% actually have a smartphone. So this was a presentation by a company that would develop an app type system. So homeless people could, it wasn't a choice if they needed a place to stay or they needed some food bank resources or community resources. All this information would be there kind of at the palm of their hands. And some people may frown that, well, these people, they can afford a phone, but a phone is pretty much an essential, we all know it's a pretty essential tool. And as we heard from the presenter, there's this no more in-person abilities, and a lot of things need to be able to communicate electronically, whether that's through a Zoom or whether that's just finding those resources. So thought that was some interesting connections with my presentation and the presentation that was done earlier. So lastly, I'd just like to share some kind of really great news about one of our business here in Smithville. So Big Raw Country is a family-owned business that's extremely proud to be Canada's largest raw pet food manufacturer and employs over 100 people in Ontario. And I know I helped deliver a truck out to Calgary late this summer. So they have a division out there, and they're Canada's largest raw pet food manufacturer, and they employ over 100 people in Ontario. So this company was listed as one of Canada's fastest growing companies. So I think it's a pretty awesome achievement here in that this company is located in Smithville and has gained that type of recognition. So I shared that, and I think Bev put that on the West Lincoln Facebook, so all others could see the accomplishment of our local business people. And at the end, I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a safe and happy New Year. And I look forward to working with you all in 2021.
Thank you so much, Councillor. Any comments, questions for our regional councillor? Very thorough. Thank you so much, sir. And right back at you. Hopefully, we look forward to working together again in the new year. At this time, I think we got a little eager here. It says Counselor Bradrick, but she was present at the meeting, but not sworn in and didn't participate. So it was just, we wanted to, initiate her very quickly, but we're going to have to wait just a little bit farther into the meeting before we can do this officially. So I'm going to call upon, I'm going to call shortly that council, that the minutes of November 23rd, 2020 regular council meeting be accepted. Can I get a mover for that?
I'll move it.
Riley, can I get a seconder?
I'll second it.
Councilor Rayner. Madam Clerk, Riley and Rayner, first and second. Any comments or questions on this resolution? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that is carried. Then we have the council minutes special from November 24. Councilor Jonker, you have that resolution.
I do. Moved by myself that the minutes of the November 24th, 2020 special council meeting, session number 1 of Community Economic Development Training be accepted.
Can I get a seconder for that? Councilor Riley, thank you. Any comments or questions on that training session? Seeing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that's carried, Madam Clerk. Moving on, Councilor Rayner, you have the resolution for the next one, 9.3.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself that the minutes of December the 1st, 2020 special council meeting, session 2, community economic development training be accepted.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder? Councilor Jonker, thank you. And any comments or questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just have a comment if I may.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I know I've got a habit of going on because I'm one of those groups that everybody's got a passion, and my passion, of course, is the protection of agricultural land, which I've fought for ever since I've been a councillor. But it was certainly nice because people could think, well, this is just one person's opinion and what does it matter? And I know the direction of the urban boundary expansion, a lot of it is not taken into consideration the value of agricultural land that would be lost. Well, we had a gentleman speak on the second session that wasn't available on the first section. His name was Ned Kenkel. He works as the Agriculture and Rural Economic Development Advisor, and his comment was that during expansions of towns such as ourselves, that's very special attention should be taken, and that we do not utilize the best agricultural land for urban expansion. And it was nice to hear it from an authority, from the provincial government, that really there are people out there besides myself who realize and value the importance of agriculture. And a main thing, of course, is that it is a food source, either directly or indirectly for humans. And we should be careful. Although this country is blessed with plentiful agricultural land, careless use and careless abuse can considerably reduce that. In 100 or 200 years from now, there could be a lot of people regretting it because of decisions made today. So I'm just grateful that there was somebody else from an authoritative position that was supported the stand. And I just hope in the future, I know we've got the Northwest Quadrant, which is really in a very good agricultural area, that we're going to take some very serious considerations of how quickly we move on it and maybe what our alternatives are, which was brought up in this economic development thing. And I think for that reason alone, it was very worthwhile. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that's carried, Madam Clerk. Moving on, we have the public meeting under the Planning Act on November 7th. Councillor Riley, I think you have that resolution, I believe.
I do, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the minutes of the public meeting held on December 7th, 2020 under section 17 and 34 of the Planning Act with respect to the following of A, official plan amendment, Township West of West Lincoln, road allowance opening and development, file number 1701-001-20. B, zoning bylaw amendment, Township of West Lincoln zoning bylaw amendment. I guess that's in there twice. Casterville United Church, file number 1601-009-20. And C, zoning bylaw amendment, Niagara Pallets and the Davis family, 2906 and 2930 South Grimsby Road 8, file number 1601-008-20 be accepted.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I get a seconder, please? Councillor Trombetta. Any comments or questions on this, on these public meetings? Seeing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that is carried, Madam Clerk. There are no communications this evening's agenda, so I'm going to move on to mayor's remarks. There's a couple that I'd like to enter into the record. If you'll indulge me, council and staff and residents. This is the last council meeting of 2020, and it is fitting to make a few observations. This year forever will be remembered for its huge interruption in life as we know it. A lot of ink and airtime is spent defining and adjusting for COVID-19 and its implications, but I'd rather highlight a few positive accomplishments as we close out the year. The first thing that I'd like to say is that our local charities, in particular, West Lincoln Community Care and Gleaners, are reporting great vitality, and I'm very, very grateful to our community for that. We earlier in the season, we had our own mayors, and I had a lot of help from council, the mayor's drive, and that was hugely successful, and it stocked the shelves very full. But more recently, the West Lincoln Fire Department had their drive-by or drive-through donations the other night, and I understand whether notwithstanding, it was a huge success, and Chief Fisher announced this morning that they did better than they normally do when they do it through the parade. And so we're very thankful again that our community has its residents back as well. Even the Silverdale dinner, which was held on Friday night, also raised funds for the Niagara Community Care. So we're a very caring community. And the other thing that I wanted to highlight was that the Gleaners are planning to bring in a second dryer. In one theory, it means they can double production, but of course, just having the second dryer there means that they certainly have a backup to the first, and they allows them greater flexibility with what they are able to do at Gleaners. So just two examples. I'm sure that there are many more charitable and gracious ways that we are helping each other out through this time, but I just want to highlight those two. Council and staff in particular have continued to function and have completed all their work schedules under this novel and unprecedented circumstances. I'd like to highlight at this point, or just give you a nod for what's coming up later on in the evening, but the CAO's report, which is 10/2020 is coming. I hope you had a chance to read it. It's quite an impressive supply of information about what the staff has been busy doing with lining up with our strategic planning, and as well completing their work plans. On a personal note, I had an additional 33 EOC meetings this year. And so I think it's a highlight. I just like to highlight on a personal note, in addition to the regular duties that we do as counselors, to have that extra work at the EOC. And I was just one part of that. The staff, it was filled out with the staff members who, in addition to mowing lawns and maintaining roads and functioning, for the purposes of our meeting and decisions, also had an additional number of meetings. When we get to that report, the numbers are there, and I'd like to highlight them at this time, how many additional meetings that they had. I'd also like to highlight, I think it's one of the most exciting things that happened in 2020, and that was the West Lincoln Memorial Hospital rebuild. Didn't even miss a beat. That they're on schedule, and they lost zero time due to this pandemic. The phase 2 and phase 3 went concurrently, and right now they're on schedule. We were able to negotiate with our regional partners for the purposes of contributing to the municipal portion of the build. And I think that is due entirely to the hard work and dedication of the foundation and the citizen appointees, our own Cheryl Ganan, Councilor Cheryl Ganan, and the the chairs of the various foundations that continue to press. And here we are at the end of 2020 in very, very good stead, basically on track. And we continue to get those assurances from the province that they are committed to this as well. And above all, now that the small outbreak at St. Martin's School has been resolved, we're thankful for the general health and well-being of our township. And we have a lot to be thankful for when we just consider that. And so I'd like to wish all councillors and staff and residents a blessed Christmas and a prosperous new year. And that concludes my notes for my mayor's remark. Any comments or questions? Anybody? Seeing none, we'd like to move on. Report of committee. Councillor Ganan, you have the next one on Planning, Building, Environmental Committee minutes of December 7th.
I do, thank you. Moved by myself that the minutes of the open session portion of the December 7th, 2020 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted, and the recommendations contained therein be approved with the exception of item, and I'm not aware of any, and that the confidential minutes relating to the closed session portion of the December 7th, 2020 Planning, Building, Environmental Committee meeting be accepted, and that the minutes remain confidential and restricted from public disclosure in accordance with section 239 of the Municipal Act.
Thank you so much, Councillor. Can I get a seconder, please? And Councillor Riley seconds that. Madam Clerk, are there any comments or questions or any items that wanted to be pulled? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that is carried, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much. And moving on, Councillor Rayner, you have the resolution for admin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the minutes of the Administration Finance Fire Committee meeting held on December 7th, 2020 be accepted, and that the recommendations contained therein be approved with the exceptions of, and at this point, I see no items unless there is something brought up now.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I get a seconder for this? Councillor Trombetta, thank you very much. Are there any items that you'd like to discuss, comments to be made, items to be pulled, anything? I see none, so we're going to go to the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that is carried, Madam Clerk. Moving on to Public Works. Councillor Trombetta, you have the resolution for that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the minutes of the Public Works, Recreation, and Arena Committee meeting held on December 7, 2020 be accepted, and the recommendations contained therein be approved with the exception of.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councillor Rayner. Then are there any comments, questions, or items to be pulled? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that is passed. Madam Clerk. Reconsideration and notice of motion to rescind definitions are there for your viewing pleasure. We're going to move to other business. Item 15.1 is Madam CAO's report. Councillor Trombetta, you have a resolution.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself that the report CAO 10-2020 West Lincoln Corporate Strategic Plan 2020 year-end status update dated December 14th, 2020 be received for information purposes.
Can I get a seconder? Councillor Jonker, thank you. Oh, and you know what? Nope, scratch that, Madam Clerk. I'm going to go to Councillor Shelley Bradrick, seconding that. There we go. Got to get her somewhere on this. Thank you so much. All right, comments, questions on Madam CAO's report. Madam CAO, do you want to start out on this? Do you want to do some highlighting yourself?
Sure. Thank you very much, Mayor. So last year when we completed the corporate strategic plan, one of the directions that council gave to staff was to make sure that we reported on our progress. And what we have determined that probably the best way to do this is to be reporting to council twice a year. So we reported the first time at the end of June in this year on the accomplishments in support of the corporate strategic plan, and now I'm just doing a wrap-up report. And I think it's a great thing to do for staff and for yourselves, because it's a really good list of the work that this council has supported and approved. And we're going to be putting it on the website under, so we have the corporate plan on a discrete page on the website, but we're also going to be adding in all of the accomplishment reports. So there'll be a place for people to go and quickly refer to those lists. And we're trying to write it in a sort of a user-friendly way. I'm not too sure if we're there yet, but we're continuing to work on that. But I'm particularly proud of the staff team. As the mayor mentioned, we have worked very, very hard to make sure that the goals that we had established in our business plan were carried out in this year. And that was in addition to managing the corporation through a global pandemic. And the amount of teamwork and collaboration that has come from all that additional work and meetings is a great sort of extra that it has resulted, I think, because we have to talk about our business practices sometimes ad nauseum. People are really understanding, people from another department are understanding the pressures and challenges of other departments. And I think that we are building a stronger corporation as a result. So I always look for a silver lining, and I think that that is the silver lining from this year. And I thank you for the opportunity to report.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Madam, Councillor Cheryl Ganan.
Just very briefly, I was impressed in June with the number of things that our team had been able to accomplish, with partly being in COVID conditions. But I was blown away when you look at the entirety of all of the things that were done this last half year, being totally under COVID conditions. And so I think the staff and you, Bev, deserve a great deal of credit for continuing to move the work of the municipality forward. So thanks to you, thanks to the rest of staff, especially the senior managers who are in charge of making sure their staff all accomplished what they needed to do. But it's most impressive when you see a year's work written down that way. I think we're always aware of things happening, but to see it in black and white was quite impressive. So yeah. Good job.
I'll pass on your remarks.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? I'd like to just mention, I said I was going to, but we had 33 EOC meetings. We had 74 SMT, senior management team meetings. That's multiple a week, making sure that we were on track, that we had the best available information. We had 26 recovery teams. We struck a staff recovery committee that's assisting us in our coming through this pandemic. And we put out, I think we're up to well over 20, between 20 and 25 media releases. That's no small production either. We want to make sure that we get factual, current information out, and they get vetted through all the departments. It does take a day or two to construct these, and trying to keep both council and our community residents informed about what's happening as best as we can. So we push that out through our website. And then I also, just a call out to Councillor Riley, who posts these almost immediately on Facebook and other social media. I know that we send it out by Twitter as well, making sure that the people of our community have access to that. So just a little highlight. It's kind of the unsung hero of the work that's being done, meetings and committees, but to make sure that we have the best available advice, communications. Any other comments or questions? Then I'm going to call the question. Members of council, all those in favor receiving this, thank you so much. And that's carried, Madam Clerk. Councillor Rayner, did you want to weigh in there for a second? No problem.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had my mute on.
yeah, no problem. Okay, great. You are in favor, right?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good.
I
Then-
said it twice. I said it twice and then I looked at your reaction. I looked and I had to mute on. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you, Counselor. All right, then at this point, we have members of council remarks. Do any members of council have any remarks that they would like to enter into the record? Counselor Riley, let's start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just trying to bring my notes up here. And so I guess the first thing I wanted to mention is, as some of you recall, on Friday, December 4th, we had our virtual tree lighting. The township was in partnership with the Kiwanis Club of West Lincoln. And I just thought I'd share a little bit of specifics there. From our analytics, it indicated that we had about 650 families be able to take part and watch that. And so, if you kind of evaluate how many people are in a family, I think that puts us about 3 times the amount of numbers we had from the year before. And I think that, it's given the current circumstances virtually, I think that was pretty well received. A lot of good feedback there, and I thought that was worth noting. Another mention I wanted to make was the West Lincoln Santa Claus Parade Committee deadline is coming up. It's for the contest portion. That's this Sunday, the 20th. And so, anybody out there who's still looking to enroll or, be part of the contest, there's some incredible prizes to be given away. And one thing I should say is, the amount of support that this committee has received from local businesses is like beyond describable. It's just overwhelming to see how many people are getting behind this and really going the extra mile. I can't really even pick 1 or 2 businesses to identify. It's just the whole community in general. So that is, if you're following them on their social media or their website, that information is there as well. But we've had a really good response to the business community and also other supporting organizations. The other thing I thought was worth noting, actually, Councillor Witteveen beat me to it. The Big Country Raw being identified as the biggest raw manufacturing packing company across the country, I thought was an incredible achievement. And so it wasn't that long ago. I think it was Mayor Billsman, myself, and some other members of council that were able to take part in that grand opening. And it's incredible to see what they've done in such a short little while, and exciting to see where they're going to grow with it further. If I'm not mistaken, I think they're in the midst of an expansion, and maybe there might be even another one down the road, who knows. So I thought that was incredible. But as I mentioned, Councillor Witteveen beat me to it. I also, speaking of Councillor Witteveen, this coming Wednesday, I believe it is, Councillor Witteveen and some other of the Niagara West regional councils are having a virtual town hall meeting. If I'm not mistaken, I think Albert last mentioned to me that they're around a double Jonker dozen of registers, and so they're definitely looking for more people who are interested to take part in it. I think it happens around noon, and certainly worthwhile to hear from your local representatives. So I think that was also worth bringing back up. And then, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned something about all the excellent work and fine efforts with going on with the hospital, and I also think it's worth noting, there's many different moving parts with this, on many different fronts, and also mentioning, our staff, including yourself and myself, actually also Councillor Witteveen, taking part in AMO and Roma and our delegations with the, the Ministry of Health, and, Sam Oosterhoff, being alongside of us. It's just incredible to see what we've all been able to do as an entirety, and very hopeful. And I think we're in the, don't want to jinx this by any means, but it's starting to look more and more like it's a reality, just knocking on the door there. So I thought that, you mentioned that there, and I didn't want to really jump. I figured I'd mention it this part here. And then lastly, I just want to wish everybody, Merry Christmas and, a Happy New Year and all the best next year. This definitely been a very trying and very challenging year for everybody, for staff, council, members of our community. And I'm really hopeful and I guess, would like to, we got some good news about the vaccine. Let's hope that momentum keeps moving. I'm very hopeful that is the beginning of, the tide turning for, us getting back to normal, or whatever the new normal is going to be. And and I just want to thank everybody, including the community, just for being, as patient as you could possibly patient during a pandemic. It's not easy. And I think everyone's doing an incredible job despite all the challenges we've been throwing our way.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jonker, I think you were up next. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce. We've picked up all the bottles, and thank you to the community for supporting the Toonie Drive for the toys for the chamber. wow, yeah, West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce and the community care there. And I dropped them off on Thursday. We haven't heard any numbers yet, but there was definitely some bottles that were well full. I had to go to one business to pick it up earlier because they were worried it was too full. And so thanks to the community for supporting that. And we'll look forward to hearing how well that did. And also the West Lincoln Chamber of Commerce, they do a lot of work, and it really came to fore when we went through the community economic development thing there, that, yeah, this is what the chamber does. They do this, they do that, right? So they are a very important part of our community, and the businesses, the members that support the community, right? The chamber, if you don't have members, you don't have a chamber. So to all the businesses that support it, it's not always necessarily what you get out of the chamber, but what the chamber brings to the community. And so hats off to all the businesses members that support that. And yeah, when you hear Country Raw, how well they done, considering where they started in St. Anne's and where they've ended up in the town of Smithville, and yeah, it's just surprised to hear that they're building in Calgary and everything. So that hats off to the family that started that business. And also to everybody, staff, council, from my family to everybody, we wish you a joyful and peaceful Christmas. And we pray that you find that peace and joy that comes from the true meaning of Christmas, and that it not just lasts a couple weeks, right, at the end of the year, but carries on into 2021 and throughout your whole life, that you find that true joy. So Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year to everyone.
Thank you. Can anyone else? Councillor Ganam.
Thank you. Further to what Councillor Jonker was just saying about people coming together and groups coming together and how the chamber is working and supporting things in the town. 3 or 4 different things have happened in the last little while. One, John and I were busy last week helping to pack gifts and things for the families who were already registered for community care. And then we drove out to the Silverdale dinner in support of West Lincoln Community Care and picked up our dinner. But further to what Councillor O'Reilly was saying, there are way more lights on houses in West Lincoln than there have been in past years. It is, I think it was sparked by the committee, and people were feeling kind of down about things and the way things are going for Christmas, and it's something that they can do. And honestly, West Lincoln is looking very sparkly these days as the lights are coming on, and more every night, every time you're out and about, somebody else has added to whatever they had before. As well, you know, Tim Hortons came to us and wanted to have a drive-through Santa thing, and it just got more and more complicated trying to step it up. But, you know, up stepped the fire department, and with the help of our staff, made it work so that there was something on Saturday at the Leisureplex, and Kiwanis stepped in to help marshal and you know, give out hot chocolate that Tim Hortons had provided. The fire department in the drizzle, you know, gave out their goodie bags through Santa. Santa was a delight. And the joyful look on the children's faces as they either had windows slide down and there was Santa Claus right there, or the van door opened and there was Santa Claus right there, was just probably the best Christmas feeling that I could have had in the drizzle and the cold and the damp after sort of working for those most in need in our community. And to see the food arriving still. And, you know, although the shelves have been full, they empty quickly, and that will certainly help to fill them up again. So it made me very proud to be a member of such a caring and giving community. And I just thought all of the groups work together all of the time. You know, if somebody needs help with a project, there's somebody who's willing to step up and provide an answer. And several of those things have benefited our neighbors who are most in need this year, some mostly due to COVID. So I just think it's marvelous. So wishing you all a very Merry Christmas to staff and to fellow councilor members. And I just think it's going to be a different kind of Christmas, but it will be just as joyful and probably more peaceful for some of us. So anyway,
Thank you,
all.
Counselor. Counselor Rayner, I think you were ready to jump in there.
Yes, I just wanted to compliment Councillor Yonker. The true meaning of Christmas, you certainly said it clearly. And there's many of us who believe what the meaning of Christmas is. And I also like to wish council members and staff and residents of West Lincoln a Merry Christmas, and most important, a happy and safe and healthy New Year. Hopefully help is on the way. Hopefully by this time next year, all this would have been passed and the bad memories will start to dissipate away. We can look forward, I believe, to a much more optimistic 2021 than we've had in 2020. It's probably been the toughest that any of us, no matter how old you are, have seen what happened to the world and how quickly things can change. And I guess it certainly makes you appreciate how vulnerable we actually are.
Yeah.
And so I wish everybody the best in the new year. And let's hopefully soon we can get the council chambers back and we can get back to what a lot of us really like. And that's the one-on-one contact, the eye contact. And we can get away from the frustrating electronics and we can get into the what we used to enjoy doing a lot, which was the presentations by the public, the appointments and everything else. And it's so much more enjoyable when we're all together in one building doing it.
Yeah.
So I look forward to next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Trombetta.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I call this time, this is usually the midpoint of our council term. You know, we got another 2 years left, council, everybody sitting around this computer screen. I'd like to say horseshoe is the word I was going to look for, but I'll say horseshoe. I think I agree with some of you councilors. It has been a very challenging 2020. But moving forward, I think we all need to put our heads down as councilors and execute some of these campaign promises that we made to our constituents. We've been focusing on a lot of world issues going on these past 2 terms. That's taken up a lot of time. And obviously the pandemic is a big one. But I think now as we move forward, coming up to budget time, we really need to push hard as a council, as a team, and execute these things that we made promises to our constituents. You know, as much as COVID came in, it came in for 7 months. It's going to be gone really quickly too, and people are going to be looking at us of, what have you done? And we can only use the COVID excuse for so long. And I think as a whole, we need to come together and execute those promises. I think we need to work together diligently. And I think we do, but I think we just need to work very, very strong together to make these things happen. And going into an election year, which is coming in 2 years, that we've fulfilled some of those challenging things that we need to accomplish with a pandemic that we passed. So moving forward, I hope we all can work strong together. Hope you guys all have a happy holiday. To staff, to everybody that's helped execute this time, I guess, through this electronic time. It's never easy how we all had to change. And hey, I learned Zoom, I learned Microsoft Teams. I had to learn Doodle Poll the other day, which is a new one. So, you know, there's all these new things that we have to quickly adapt to. And I think we've all done a well and fine job coming together. And I can't say I'm more proud of the team that's in front of me. And I hope to continue forward strong in 2021. So I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Spend that time with your family. We're all gonna say one day that, man, this was a good time that we had to spend all this time with our family, that COVID gave us that option to spend all this time with the family, living our busy lives as this goes away. So enjoy the time with the family, everybody. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Braderick. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I don't want to be the only one who doesn't say anything, that's for sure, but I'm thrilled to be part of this team. Congratulations to CAO on your strategic plan update. It certainly appears and looks like your team has been working hard at working towards those goals in the strategic plan, and I was excited to read about those. Also, I'm thrilled to be part of that resolution that was passed earlier today. Those social issues are dear to me, and certainly part of my motivating factor on wanting to be part of council and looking at how we can make our community even more caring than it already is. It's certainly been the reason why our family moved here many years ago and why we continue to stay, is the people of West Lincoln are gracious and giving, and I'm thrilled to be able to sit here and represent them. So Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of you, and I look forward to the new year and what it has to bring. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Counselor. And to the other counselors, you should know that Counselor Bradrick got put through the ringer this afternoon. She's all up on conflict of interest and code of conduct and confidentiality and all those other things that we had to do through caucus. So she's well initiated, but the initiation isn't over until you get bylaws, although they used to be worse than they are today. Moving on to bylaws, Councillor Bradrick, you have the resolution for bylaws.
Thank you, Mayor. So moved by myself that leave be granted to introduce bylaws number 2020-112, 2020-113, 2020-114, and 2020-115, and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading and are hereby adopted, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal thereto, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Thank you very much. And I have Councillor Riley seconding that. I almost was tempted to make you read them all out, but alas.
I already asked Clerk Shimei if I needed to or not, and she confirmed that I did not.
Oh,
I
so she
used
took the
to.
cat out of the bag, did she?
I
Okay.
used to do them.
Yeah, we used to do them. All right. So we have a mover and a seconder was Councillor Riley. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Support.
And that's carried, Madam Clerk. There are no confidential matters. So I declare this meeting to be adjourned at the hour of 8:30. Thank you so much. And see you in the new year.
Good night.
Care, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Bye, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Good night.
Good night. Merry Christmas.
Good night.